Welcome. I'm Alfred Webre, and I'm here with Patty Greer and Thomas Keough, who's joining us again. And we're going to explore miraculous medical discoveries, which actually exist and are truly astounding. So Patty and Thomas, please lead us through them.
Thank you. And thank you for your platform, which is kind of blending into ours because of the interesting dance of Facebook and YouTube, but we'll do it however we need to do it to get it out to the people during these times of less transparency. The miracle for me years ago was discovering the C60 products that were all coming out of this lab in Texas. And finally, I met the owners that invented this machine that has been burning raw carbon-60 fullerenes for 30 years. So they're my partners because once I started taking the product, I knew that it was a miracle. It was a medical miracle for me because I was living in a lot of pain from ridiculous things. But I didn't want it to stop me from living my life, and this stuff worked. And it was like a kind of a miracle molecule, they called it. And so I opened a year ago, a little more, C60 EVO, the evolution of C60, with Chris and Rob, who own the SES Research Lab in Texas, where our products are made from scratch there. We even burn our own ESS 60, which is the upgraded, purest version of the C60 molecule that you can buy anywhere. So I have been delighted to be using it, and I know that I've been building up my immune system. And also I've been detoxing out things that even have surprised me, like what? I used to have a joke on our show that said, guess what came out of my body this week? And I mean, like having stitches in my leg for something, and the doctor says, oh, it's going to melt. And about a month later, the inside stitches, they melt and go into your system. Not when you take this much C60, the really pure. It's supposed to melt, like I said, but mine, all of a sudden, there was this little rock coming out the top of my stitches. A teeny, not that teeny though, rock coming out of the side of my leg. And I called the doctor in a panic, and she said, we've heard of that. It's called the spitting suture, like your body went, not going to take it. And it actually balled it up and spit it out. So I've had a couple of procedures and absolutely no pain afterward. So I'm thinking, come on, this stuff is ridiculous. This is what it looks like. C60 EVO, and we have different flavors, but the olive oil is by far the strongest because it holds more C60 than anything else on the market. So I'm promoting, and every now and then I get this testimonial from some guy named Tom. And I'm like, this guy's blown away by the products. Like he sends these huge gratitude testimonials, and I'm like, you know, this is awesome, somebody this happy. And so I contacted him, and it was funny because he said, I knew you years ago from your films. I came to one of your openings, and my brain, of course, when, you know, that was years ago, but it was funny that we went back. And so he said, you know, I live nearby, let's go to lunch. And I thought, well, okay. And what a blessing, because he just lived through his own pain story, which I'll let him go into. And he told me about this revolutionary, miraculous medical procedure that's non-surgical for people that need, they think, surgery. And I found out that both my hips and low back were really in need of help. And so he tells me about this, and I'm like, yeah, right, you know, non-surgery. And all of a sudden, in the last few weeks, I got so bad I couldn't walk. That's the truth. I've been in a lot of pain, But when I sit and do these shows, I'm happy as a clam because I am so alive and so energized because of the C60, the ESS 60. And so it never bothers me until I, get up to go somewhere. I was like, oh, and I did a lot of things, rode a big heavy Harley, did a lot of competitive gymnastics. And yeah, I pulled a few strings in my life where I really tested this little 5'2" body. So all of a sudden, the last month, I was really a mess, and I called Tom. Luckily, I had his number because he's a C60 EVO customer. So I reached him and asked if we could have a conversation, and I wanted to know about this Regenexx. Same doctors that invented stem cell therapy. Huge. Wait a minute. So they invented two. Yeah, one's a lot less invasive, Regenexx, because they're not taking big plastic metal parts from all these factories and putting them in your body and cutting your body open to do so. They're actually using, the Regenexx uses blood from my body, and they spin it down for 3 hours to only the plasma rich platelets, which is the gold of our blood. And they have studied every ounce of your bone structure and your damage areas. I had to go MRI, CT, X-ray, but they knew what they were doing. And when I went into the room, it was, I gave a lot of blood. I won't tell you how many vials. And then the next day I went back and the plasma rich platelets were ready. And I knew that these were the doctors in the whole world, the best, right here in Broomfield, Colorado, down the road from me, across the street from Tom, I guess. We were so lucky. And I called him and I was like, oh God, convince me I can't walk. I know you don't know me, but I'm whining. And he said, oh yeah, well, my roommate just had it done a few days ago and he's at the gym. And I was like, you're messing with me. He said, no, he's at the gym. And that was it. I was like, okay, what's the phone number? And I did it. And I surprised you, didn't I? How quick, right?
Yeah.
So how messed up were you and what did they do for you?
Well, I was pretty messed up. In I guess it was the very beginning of 2011. I damaged the cartilage in my knee, on my right knee, and it was too painful to continue skiing and snowboarding, which is what I taught at that time, living up in Beaver Creek. And then 6 months later, I figured I could still get along in the valley up there. I just wasn't going to be skiing and snowboarding, but I was still teaching paragliding up there. And then I had a weird accident on launch and hurt my back pretty good. It turned out to be a muscle in my spine that was atrophied. So with that muscle not working, my spine would get out of place all the time. So I was not only having trouble with my knee, walking around doing things, but having trouble with my back. And at one point I even had a problem with my hip, which I think was associated with my back. But yeah, I walked around really slow and, kind of was holding on to my back all the time and trying to do whatever it took to stay, in proper form, if I could even manage to find proper form. And anyway, but yeah, I needed a housemate, and I got found one off the internet on Craigslist, guy looking for a house, and he was a bike taxi driver, and he became my housemate. And I never in my life, I hadn't even heard of bike taxi, but he told me all about it, and I needed some additional work, and you can make your own hours doing it. So that sounded great. So I decided to give it a try, and the bicycling kind of acted like therapy for both my knee and my back, and I started to gain strength again. And I'd say about a year into that, I approached the 5-year mark from my knee injury. And when I'd had the knee injury, I had gone to the Steadman Hawkins Clinic in Vail. They're, the world's renowned best knee surgeons. And they had told me there was nothing you can do, or nothing we can do for you. But you want to wait about 5 years and then get stem cell therapy. We think it's going to be really up to speed by that point. So anyway, after a year on the bike taxi, I got to that 5 years out from having talked to Steadman Hawkins and thinking, okay, well, I guess stem cell ought to be where it's supposed to be by now. And so I just went online on the internet and looked up stem cell therapy to see what was available. And it turned out that the world's best, were just a couple of miles from my house. So as soon as I did that, I saw them online and saw what they were all about, that they actually invented these procedures and now they were the world's biggest. I didn't have to think twice. I just got in the car and went over there, and I figured I'd get some information, but the girl at the desk was really great, and she got me signed up for, getting checked out, seeing what they thought of it all, and an evaluation. So part of the evaluation process, I needed an MRI. So I got that done before I went in. And then I went in and saw Dr. Markle with my MRI, and he did ultrasound while he looked at the MRI and looked at my knee with the ultrasound. And he said he thought it looked like a pretty simple procedure, which was amazing to me. I thought I was going to need something really complex. It was keeping me from walking. So I thought I needed something special. But no, he thought it was a pretty simple job. And it was, less cost than the deductible on an insurance plan. So I said, okay, well, let's do it. And we did that, got my knee all fixed. It was feeling better after the first week. And, I was a little bit slow getting on the antioxidants at that time. I should have been, taking a big dose of turmeric and black pepper, on a daily basis right from the start. But it took me a little while to realize just how beneficial that was going to be. And so anyway, about a month out, when I started using that, then all the pains from the needles went away at that point. I still had a little bit of pain from the needles. And then everything just really sped up, the whole process of recovery. And I found that, the supplements using the turmeric and the black pepper, allowed me to work, not just to heal my knee and heal the pain, but I was actually able to work more hours a day as well as more days a week. So that was really amazing. And being able to do all that much more work, I started making more money, and I decided, okay, well, I need to get my back checked out, and these are the guys to do it. So I went back and did the same thing with my back. They said they needed an MRI, and so I brought in an MRI, and they looked at it all, and said, yeah, it looks like a pretty easy one too. Although it sounds a lot more difficult. They actually had to regenerate the nerve that fires on that atrophied muscle. So whereas my whole muscle was muscle mass along my spine was tightened up, and everything was stabilized right from the onset of the treatment. The actual nerve regeneration didn't occur until months 9 through 11 was what they told me to expect. So I immediately felt stable in my back after the treatment, but then it was 9 months out when I really started to feel a whole new kind of good. I don't know how really to describe it, but I was already strong, much stronger than I had been, but all of a sudden I was getting really strong right in my spine. It just felt so good. I can't even describe. And all the all the memory of the accident, the incident, you know, was gone. My muscles, you know, there was nothing inside me telling me to favor my back or favor my knee anymore. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
A whole new kind of good. Alfred, doesn't that sound appealing?
Yes, yes. And, you know, I myself, as part of my career in the 1990s, I took a shift. I had been a lawyer, and I went down to the Texas-Mexican border to Brownsville, Texas. And I became an administrator of an award-winning community health center overseeing 20 physicians, 120 nurses, and 90,000 patient encounters a year, so that we would see a tremendous amount of medical issues and medical problems coming through. And I can see that this new type, I would call the new medicine, where you take orthopedic surgery and you just go, and you go over it by using the body's natural mechanisms and frequencies and power through both the Regenexx and then supplemented by the C60 ESS60 is something that really is, I think, the future, you know, a very positive future that we can point to, you know, people that are saying, oh, where are we going? Well, there's a positive timeline. And I think that what we're talking about today, I'm a futurist by background, so I tend to extrapolate to these big things. I'm sorry, that's how I respond to your question. But so I've actually worked in and lived in an environment that was this standard allopathic medicine, which and this provides an alternative to the standard allopathic medicine. And so it's so hopeful, and with results that are proven, because you both can speak to it. So that's how I would respond to that.
And I contacted you because I feel so lucky that off the wall, Tom told me. And off the wall, I just got to the point where I needed to do something now. And I got super lucky. Dr. Markle, M-A-R-K-L-E, at the Centeno Clinic in Broomfield, Colorado. These are the guys that invented it. And I am so grateful it's behind me. But a lot of people said, oh, you know, the blood is worse than the you know, event. And you basically, you're in what they call a twilight state of not totally awake, but not totally out. And it went quickly. And I knew that it was elements of my body, my liquid gold, that were going into places where I needed it. What a miracle. And the fact that it actually regrows, what? Tendons, muscles, ligaments, what? I'm sorry. It's almost too much of a miracle, but I just did it. And I stayed at a hotel because I live in the woods at the top of a lot of stairs. And I thought I better not push it. So I stayed at a hotel near the facility until I felt really comfortable, and then I came home. The first day I had crutches. I asked for a handicapped room just to give myself every benefit of the doubt in case I had a bad reaction. But I'm kind of arrogant, to tell you the truth. I take so much of this that I'm not going to get sick. Every time somebody tells me they had COVID, I have to get serious because I am sorry. people are dying. Somebody just told me yesterday they lost a friend, you know, and so it is serious. But you take this product, this miracle molecule, it's so easy. C60 EVO, it's so easy. I never get sick. What about you guys? Do you get sick since you've
No,
been taking it?
I haven't. Now I've got more energy than ever, and it's just amazing.
The healing after the surgeries has been what's amazed me. And because I avoided doctors for many years, all of a sudden I took this little chassis into the shop to get it checked, and I had to, you know, do a few things, but it's more about the anticipation and the dread than the, you know, really going through things, because it's pretty much over, like an MRI, the dread, but you don't even know that, you know, but the discipline in my brain is so, it's like my best friend. And I think that the C60 EVO has really brought balance to my blood-brain barrier. They say it does cross over. The molecule can get into places that even vitamin C cannot. Chris can explain that better than I, but I know that when I take it, I'm sharper mentally,
Yeah,
more balanced. Do you notice that,
I do notice that. Yeah.
Alfred? You're muted.
Yes, I, you know, it's been, for me, I kind of visualize, this is how I visualize things. I mean, you know, everyone has their own kind of world that they live in. And since I had the privilege of having a meeting with Buckard Fuller, after whom the fullerenes are named, and the C60 molecule with all, it kind of looks like a soccer ball, is named. And so the kind of visualizing that I go through is this, that on the industrial side, what they do with the C60 and add fullerenes is that they add it to like materials to make super tires, right? So on our end, I know this is fundamentalist thinking, but on our end, we add it to ourselves. So I assume that it's going into me, and I assume that all these fullerenes are going inside of me, and they go in to make you a superhuman being. And that is what's happening, because that is what's happening scientifically, because that's what happens on the industrial side of things, you see? And it's making you a superhuman being, both in body and in mind, because it's going into all the mental synapses, you know, in your brain. It's going into your vision. My vision has I mean, I went from, in 2016, we're in 2020, where I had been targeted by directed energy weapons by the deep state, that nasty state that now is doing all kinds of bad stuff. We won't even go there. They took away the direct vision in my right eye. And it was very interesting. It happened during the 2016 election. Isn't that interesting? And after that, I had to go to the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. They issued me a white cane. I had to go through Vision Odyssey, a 6-week course to learn how to see again. I had to use a white cane to get on buses and everything. And now, I mean, I'm back operating. And and I know that would not have been possible without the ESS 60, which I think is the new medicine. Do you see what I'm saying? But I've been fortunate enough, and my life circumstances have been fortunate enough, that I met Buckminster Fuller as part of the creation of the Good News Network at the University of Cincinnati with futurist Barbara Marx Hubbard. And you're on the World Good News Network now, right now. This is part of the World Good News Network. So there's an organic connection on the positive timeline, which is part of Regenexx and part of C60. So for me, it's all organically connected, but that's just the way that I think, do you see? And it's not making up stories about it. That is true. That's the way that it thinks. And that's the way I believe that ESS60 amplifies, it probably amplifies the corpus callosum in your brain, which amplifies the integrative capacity of your brain as in processing information and of your various etheric bodies, etc. I mean, I could go on, but that's the way that I know that this is, our audience tends to be more of a fourth and fifth density audience than the normal third density audience. So.
Well, on that note, knowing that they're more conscious than the average bear, we know that we are right now living in a time where we're losing friends, we're losing respect to family members because we're fighting over our political beliefs because we're being shown that that's what we're supposed to be doing right now. So having something that helps you stay balanced, probably more important than ever. With the spiking numbers and the fear being promoted so heavily, Colorado just went into red zone, which means, oh my God, run for the hills. And they're threatening to say purple, which means don't even breathe because you're going to kill somebody's grandmother. I'm sorry. I'm kind of sarcastic because I'm kind of over it. But I live on real news. And I dig and I scrape, and then I look at only the ones that have evidence. And for me, I should have listened to Tom the first time, but when it wasn't until he said my roommate just did it 2 days ago and he's back at the gym, that to me was evidence enough. And of course, I've got my pendulum. So, but for me, it was like, that's just perfect. That's what I needed. You just whoop on the side of the head and I'm there. And so another whoop has been that Alfred is in his older 70s and I'm in my older age and Tom's like, what, 22? I'm kidding, 53. But when he took it lightly and he said, I do paragliding, this young guy jumps off mountains with people who have never jumped off mountains with a big paraglider. And he did it with a hurt knee for who knows how many jumps and tolerated a lot of pain before he did it. And then once he did it, it was like a whole new world. And then he did his back and then it was really a whole new world.
Yeah.
For me, I was hurting so much that I was just like, okay, fine, just do everything. What, 2 hips and 3 places in my back? Are you kidding? My friends are just watching me going, you are so brave. And it's like, I'm so desperate. So the next night at the hospital, I got up to use the restroom and I got my crutches and I got the handicap room and I walked to the bathroom and then I went, wait a minute. I just walked to the bathroom without any crutches and I don't hurt. And I look at the clock and I'm doing the math and I'm like 30 hours and I forgot the crutches. What? And I don't know Tom well enough, but I would have called him and said, what? Like this is almost unbelievably good. And, but I know that the C60 EVO kicks booty on all my healing body abilities. So it's an antiviral, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, more than 172 times the power of vitamin C. It's basically, and it's anti-stitches, it folded those babies up and spit them out my leg. You know, I mean, I'm kind of proud, but it's also like, wow. When I said I used to joke about, guess what came out of my body this week? That week was stitches that are supposed to melt. So I really like that I powered up my system, but I found that the oil, every now and then when you're aiming for your mouth, you'll spill a little on the table. So I started rubbing it on my face, and I didn't ever want to waste it. So when I finish my spoon, I scrape it off with my finger and I rub it on my hands and face. And I started seeing that my skin is starting to soften up. And I thought, wow, we should be doing some facial serums because this stuff's really good. I mean, I could just use that, but maybe there's other properties. So I had a couple of formulators I worked with, and we came up with this, which just came to market, and it's called C60 EVO, excuse the Band-Aid on my finger, Advanced Facial Serum. And it has 21 organic and natural properties along with the ESS 60. And we've all known each other. I mean, Alfred's audience forever, and Alfred and I have been doing shows for 10 years. Tom's a new friend, but I think we're going to get to know each other because he's a fan of the same things I am, and he knows what's going on behind the curtain when Toto pulls it back and the Wizard of Oz goes, "Oh, ignore the man pretending to be the mafia." I mean, yeah. So anyway, you know, we're at a funny time where what we need is medical miracles. What we need is for people to be kind to each other. And I am really, really finding the benefits in my life from picking my friends very carefully and picking my procedures. When I hear of gold, Regenexx, like, what'd you just say? Like they're not going to put plastic parts in me. They're going to just pull some blood one day. I won't say how many again, and load it back into me. The gold from, they spin it for hours in their lab right downstairs. You can go to regenexx.com. They have videos where you see the lab and you see how incredible this facility is. They've got $1 million machine over here. But when I went in for my treatment, I knew that not only had they mapped out the places where they were going to put my plasma rich platelets back into my back and hips, but they had these huge screens all around the surgery bed because they were doing ultrasound and they knew exactly where they were going with every delivery, I will call it, of my plasma rich platelets. I had no fear. I had nothing but gratitude because I knew that someday I'd be here today talking about it on the other side of it, feeling so damn good that I'm forgetting that I hurt that bad for what, 4 years? Yeah. And it just got worse and worse. And I was bone on bone, and I still am, but now I'm bone on bone with some pillows. And those pillows are going to grow stuff. I mean, I'm going to be a garden of new ligaments on the inside, and I am just delighted. So, Thomas, thank you for introducing me to this. And Alfred will have links below for anybody that is considering surgery because, like me, like Tom, we were desperate and living in pain. My both hips and 3 places in my back were less than $5,000 in and out the door. And I couldn't have spent better. Tom said it was like your deductible. Do you want to say anything more as we head out? Because we don't want to take too much time, but we did want to introduce these amazing, amazing products and procedures.
Yeah, I feel blessed to have the opportunity to be telling my story, and it's really just I can't say how much, you know, that I feel just like you. I just I'm so amazed by how well this has all gone. You know, when I was young and I moved in up to the mountains, you know, it was because, in large part, I mean, I loved skiing, but I'd had it with the world, you know. In large part, I went up there to to get away from it all, like an early retirement, a working retirement. But and then when I left, you know, I had nothing. My health had gone, you know, my knee was gone, my back was gone. I couldn't make a living anymore. And that was the one place where I really felt like I fit in, was up there. But then being down here, you know, I still hadn't made it. You know, I was still having trouble, really struggling, until I got that first knee treatment. And then everything started coming together, and I realized, okay, well, I'm going to keep going on this. And I had the back treatment, and then everything just kept getting better. And all of a sudden I had so much energy, you know, that I could just work basically every night, and I started really getting ahead. So it didn't just fix my body. I would say it almost fixed my life. It gave me so much opportunity, and it's just been amazing the way I've been able to compound on that opportunity that I had, and now I'm, you know, doing so well down here in the city. Although I've always loved the mountains and the mountain life, you know, I'm it's a really tough decision to want to stay down here, but I love it down here now. There's so many good things that have come out of it. So
You got to make your life good wherever you are. And as long as you feel well, it's a lot easier than if you don't.
absolutely, yeah.
And also, I'd like to add, because you are on Exopolitics TV, that on the C60 EVO ESS 60 side of things, Patty and her partners have very generously sponsor our program. So there's a link you'll find that if you use that and then you order through there and use a special code Jolly15 ALW, like, you know, JOLLY 15 ALW, and put that code in, you'll get special discounts, and some money comes to our channel also, which helps keep it going. So everybody wins. It's a win all the way around.
They actually get 15% off, which your listeners have never gotten that amount. So this is a great sale till the end of the year. And all they have to do is tap your link, which I sent you, and type in your code, and they get 15% off. And our landing page that Alfred has shows our gift sets, which are already discounted. So you can try all 3 flavors, and or both pet samplers. But we put together a really nice group of gift sets and save money there. But with Alfred's code, whatever you buy, you'll save another 15%. Plus, he gets a donation to keep his life just a little sweeter. So I can't say enough about how much I love C60 EVO. It's changed my life, and all 3 of us do it daily, and feel much gratitude. But I hope to be part of a pipeline from Tom to me, to Alfred's wife, maybe to other people listening, to look up the Centeno Clinic, CENTENO-Schultz Clinic. But you'll find Centeno Clinic in Broomfield, the originals. And I had booked myself at a place in Boulder, and I told Tom, yeah, I'm going to, and he's like, why would you do that when the greatest guys in the world are right down the road? And it was considerably more expensive. But then I looked down at my little temple and I went, that's why. And I booked it there. And the difference with Centeno and perhaps other clinics in different places is that they don't all have those huge screens where the doctor can see from different directions right where he's going with his injections of your gorgeous gold plasma rich platelets. And for people that are in worse condition than Thomas and I were, they do stem cell therapy, which is a little more invasive, 3 times the price, but it's a miracle. Why would you not want to do non-invasive non-surgical medical procedures, why would you not want to do it to save yourself from getting cut open and all kinds of synthetic and metal parts put in? Anybody I love and all of you that I don't know, Thomas and I came here, Alfred was generous enough to share his audience because I can't believe how lucky I feel today. I can walk again normally, and I'm going to get better and better every week. I'm growing this garden of miracles inside my bones and joints. I didn't think it was possible, and I just did it, so I know it is. Our website is C60 EVO, like evolution, C60EVO.com. And if you go to the store, there's a thing that says gift page, and you can see it there also, but go through Alfred's link to start so that you get that 15% discount. And we're here just to hope that all of you heal like we have. And I'm going to be grateful every day for the rest of my life. Thank you, Tom. And thank you, Alfred.
Well, thank you, Patty, and thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Alfred, and thank you, Patty.
Good
It's really
enough.
my pleasure to be here.
You out there.
Everybody heal.
Okay.
All right, thank you, guys.